In the cold darkness above Earth, the Xyler Dominion fleet hung motionless. Their sensors still scanned the blue planet below, trying to understand what had just happened. A primitive world had detected them. Impossible. A species barely learning to travel its own solar system had sent a message straight into deep space, to ships hidden beyond light detection. Commander Varek stood at the command deck, silent. The words still echoed in his mind. If you're watching, stay away. That voice, calm, steady, almost emotionless, wasn't the voice of a frightened species. It was a warning. Commander, said Officer Talon, his voice uneasy, should we alert the Dominion High Council? Varek shook his head slowly. No, not yet. They would call it superstition. We'll find out what's happening ourselves. He turned to his crew. Deploy deep scan probes. If humans are hiding something, we will uncover it. As the silent probes drifted toward Earth, the ship's lights dimmed slightly. The crew waited. Seconds turned to minutes. Then, data began to appear. Beneath Earth's southern oceans, deep below the ice and rock, something stirred. Energy fields, stable, organized, and enormous, spread like veins under the sea. They were old but active. Varek's eyes widened. That's not natural structure. That's technology. Talon whispered, built by humans? Impossible, Varek muttered. No species with that level of energy signature should still be planet-bound. The readings kept coming. Radiation. Subspace fluctuations. It looked like construction, something enormous. A quiet hum filled the air. Then, one by one, the probes began to vanish. Not destroyed, not jammed, gone. Connection lost to all units, a technician shouted. We can't trace the source. Something is bending the signal. Varek slammed a clawed hand against the console. They have countermeasures. Oh, how can they hide from us? No one had an answer. Meanwhile, on Earth, deep under the ice of Antarctica, thousands of humans worked in silence. Massive tunnels stretched for kilometers beneath the frozen surface. Floodlights illuminated walls of steel and energy conduits pulsing like veins of light. This was Project Impossible, a global effort hidden from every satellite and probe. Every nation had contributed, united under one goal: survival. Scientists, engineers, and soldiers moved through the complex, speaking in quiet urgency. Screens displayed alien movements, ship scans, and power readings. The base commander, General Marcus Hale, stood before a glowing hologram of Earth's orbit. Xyler ships confirmed above the moon, his officer reported. They've sent multiple probes, all neutralized by the defense field. Hale nodded. Good. No visual contact yet? None, sir. Then the cloak holds. Continue preparations. He looked at the hologram again, his jaw set. Humanity had seen the signs long before the aliens noticed them. Strange energy readings near Jupiter. Faint traces of dark matter drives. It was only a matter of time before someone came looking. That's why Project Impossible existed. Not to build a weapon, but something greater. Something that could end wars. On the surface, news agencies around the world broadcast strange reports. Flickering lights in the night sky, ocean tremors near the poles, magnetic fields going wild. Most dismissed it as natural phenomena. But a few began to ask questions. Still, the world stayed calm. Governments denied everything. Far below, however, the truth grew louder. Deep within the Antarctic base, a massive chamber pulsed with energy. At its center stood a colossal structure, part machine, part unknown alloy. It rose like a mountain of metal, its surface glowing with faint blue lines. Technicians in suits monitored the readings. The hum of power was constant, almost alive. Status report, General Hale said, stepping closer. One of the scientists, Dr. Evelyn Cross, looked up from her console. Core power stable. Quantum singularity drive at 67%. We'll reach full charge in 48 hours. Hale's expression was grim but proud. Good. We're not ready to reveal it yet. If the aliens make a move, we'll have to accelerate. Dr. Cross hesitated. Sir, if we activate early, we might not control the full output. I know, Hale said quietly. But if they invade, we won't have a choice. Back in orbit, the Xyler fleet began to grow impatient. The Dominion expected results. Commander Varek, said one of his captains through the comm, our scans show increasing energy from the southern pole. It's spreading into the atmosphere. Visual confirmation? Varek asked. None, sir. But we believe it's a power surge. Possibly a weapon test. Varek's expression darkened. So the primitive species is preparing for war. He walked toward the command window. Below, the planet spun quietly, unaware, or pretending to be unaware, of the forces watching it. He spoke softly, almost to himself. I told them we would find their secret. Now we will take it. Should we attack, Commander? Not yet. I want to see what they're building. Once we understand it, we'll take it for the Dominion. The crew nodded, preparing stealth observation drones. But as the first drone crossed into the upper atmosphere, something unexpected happened. The ship's lights flickered. Screens went blank for 2 full seconds. When they came back, the drone was gone. Not destroyed, just gone. Talon turned pale. Commander, it's as if it never existed. Explain. There's no debris, no energy trail, no data signature. Space itself just folded around it. Varric felt a chill run through him. That's impossible. Talon looked up slowly. Maybe that's why they call it Project Impossible. The room fell silent. For the first time in his long career, Varric felt fear. Not because of the humans' power, but because they had hidden it so well. A species once seen as weak had built something the galaxy could not even detect. And beneath the frozen continent of Earth, the final pieces of humanity's greatest creation began to awaken. The core hummed. Energy pulsed like a heartbeat. And somewhere deep within the machine, a system came online, displaying the first clear words on its screen. Atlas Protocol, standby mode engaged. The hum grew louder. The ice above trembled. And for the first time in history, Earth no longer looked like a helpless world. It looked like a trap. The cold silence of orbit broke as the Xylar Dominion fleet began to move. Thousands of black warships, their hulls glimmering like shards of obsidian, turned toward the small blue world below. Engines ignited. Weapons charged. For weeks the aliens had watched Earth. They had seen nothing, no defenses, no response fleets, no planetary shields. Yet deep beneath the southern oceans, energy levels continued to rise. Something was happening under the ice. Commander Varric stood in front of the massive viewing screen aboard the flagship Obsidian Fong. The planet filled the display, a world that had defied them with a simple message. If you're watching, stay away. Varric's voice was low and calm. They have been warned. Now we see how much courage these humans truly have. Officer Talon shifted nervously beside him. Commander, I still believe we should wait for High Council authorization. Varric cut him off. Enough. The Council sent me to study this world. I will finish my task. The Dominion fears nothing, especially not primitives hiding under ice. He raised a clawed hand. Begin the assault. The order spread through the fleet like fire. War drums echoed across the command channels. Battleships moved into formation, their weapons glowing red. The first wave of missiles streaked through space, fast, silent, and invisible to the human eye. But as they entered the atmosphere, something strange happened. One by one, the missiles vanished. No explosions. No debris. Just gone. The targeting system showed impact confirmed, yet the Earth below remained untouched. Clouds drifted peacefully, unbroken. Oceans shimmered without disturbance. Commander, the first strike failed, a gunner reported. No damage detected. Our warheads disappeared mid-flight. Run diagnostics. Varric barked. Systems normal, sir. It's not our weapons, it's them. Varric's claws tightened around the railing. Impossible. Humans don't possess matter phase technology. But Talon was already staring at his console, his voice trembling. Commander, there's something under the ice. Something moving. The display showed the southern pole flaring with energy. Massive waves of power rippled outward, scattering every scan. Sir, it's rising. Beneath the frozen layers of Antarctica, alarms blared throughout the underground base of Project Impossible. General Marcus Hale stood before the main command platform, his eyes fixed on the ceiling trembling above. Status report. Alien missiles neutralized, said Dr. Evelyn Cross. Atlas Defense Field absorbed all impacts. But their fleet is repositioning. They're going to bombard the entire hemisphere. Then we activate it, Hale said firmly. Dr. Cross hesitated. Sir, the Atlas isn't fully stabilized. If we bring it online now. We don't have a choice, Hale interrupted. If we wait, Earth burns. He turned to the intercom. All teams, prepare for Phase 1 activation. Power up the Atlas core. The ground shook violently. Ice cracked like thunder. The entire continent trembled as the sea below began to boil with light. For a moment, the world held its breath. Then, from deep beneath the ocean, a shape began to rise. A massive tower of metal and energy, encased in layers of crystallized ice, pushed through the water. Steam exploded outward as the structure broke the surface. A colossal machine unlike anything the world had ever seen. It wasn't just a weapon. It was a monument. Thousands of meters tall, glowing with blue and white energy, its surface shimmered like liquid steel. Lightning arced between its towers, forming a sphere of light that reached into orbit. Humanity's greatest creation had awoken. From the obsidian Fong, the Xylar fleet watched in stunned silence. What is that?" one of the alien officers whispered. Talon stared at the readings. Energy levels beyond classification. Graviton flux unstable. Space itself is bending around it. Varric leaned forward, his eyes wide. That cannot be human. But it was. A communication signal suddenly broke through every channel. No encryption. No interference. A human voice spoke clearly, calm but commanding. "This is Earth Command. You attacked without cause. You will stand down immediately." Varric growled. "They dare to threaten us?" The voice continued. "This is your only warning. Leave our orbit, or witness what you call impossible." Then the signal cut. For a moment the bridge was silent. Then Varric laughed, a low, cruel sound. "They bluff. Fire everything." The sky lit up. Tens of thousands of plasma rounds, torpedoes, and rail slugs rained down on the Earth. The fleet unleashed its fury, enough firepower to melt continents. But the Atlas responded. The sphere of light above Antarctica pulsed once, then expanded outward like a tidal wave. It swept across the atmosphere, touching each incoming projectile. And in an instant, every weapon disappeared. The energy wave didn't explode. It didn't destroy. It simply erased. The sky cleared. Silence returned. Not one alien weapon had reached the surface. Inside the Xylar flagship, panic spread. Our weapons, gone. Shields fluctuating. Gravity distortions around the fleet. "Commander, the field is spreading into orbit." Varric's voice was cold. "Fall back. Now." But it was too late. A ripple of energy struck the outer ships. One by one they vanished, no explosion, no wreckage. Just light. The remaining vessels scrambled, trying to escape, but the distortion followed like a living storm. "Commander!" Talon shouted. "We're losing entire squadrons. They're being folded into subspace." "Retreat!" Varric roared. The obsidian Fong turned hard, engines burning. But even as it fled, another message came through, this time on all frequencies. "We built this not for war, but for survival." The voice paused. "You thought we were weak. You were wrong." The transmission ended, and with it the energy field around Earth slowly began to fade. The sky cleared once more. The planet remained untouched, quiet beneath the stars. The Xylar fleet, once proud, unstoppable, was shattered. Only a few ships survived to tell the story. Varric stood alone at the bridge window, staring at the blue planet below. His fleet was gone. His pride was broken. He whispered to himself, "What are they?" Talon spoke softly behind him. "Maybe not weak, Commander. Just waiting." Varric didn't answer. He couldn't. Because for the first time in his life, he realized that the galaxy's greatest weapon might not be alien technology or empires or fleets. It was humanity's will. In the silent black of space, the wreckage of the Xylar Dominion fleet drifted like ash. Hundreds of warships had vanished, erased by a single burst of power from Earth. Only a few crippled vessels remained, engines dying, comms filled with static and panic. From the bridge of the obsidian Fong, Commander Varric watched the blue planet below in disbelief. His claws trembled as he gripped the railing. "Report," he said, his voice quiet but sharp. Officer Talon stared at his screen. "Our long-range scanners are blind, Commander. The energy from the human structure. It's rewriting local space. Gravity itself is fluctuating." Varric turned toward the main window. The southern hemisphere of Earth glowed with a soft, unnatural light. Through the clouds he could see it, the shape that had risen from beneath the ocean. The machine. The impossible. It wasn't a warship, not exactly. It looked like a fortress or perhaps a city of metal, built around a massive sphere that pulsed with contained power. Lightning crawled across its surface, reaching upward into orbit. "That thing," one officer whispered. "What is it?" Talon's voice was unsteady. "Our sensors can't define it. Every scan is distorted. It bends time signatures, like it's older and younger at the same moment." "Stop speaking nonsense," Varric hissed. No human could build such a thing. But deep inside even he knew he was wrong. Far below, under the ice and steel of Antarctica, The base of Project Impossible roared to life. Engineers ran between glowing terminals, the hum of power shaking the walls. Core stabilization at 93%, Dr. Evelyn Cross shouted over the noise. The graviton field is holding steady. General Marcus Hale stood in the center of the control deck, his uniform soaked in sweat. His eyes were fixed on the screen showing orbital views of the alien ships retreating in panic. "Status of the Atlas?" he demanded. Dr. Cross smiled faintly. "Fully online, sir." The ground rumbled again. Ice cracked. Then, through a holographic display, Hale watched as the colossal machine, Atlas, shifted its orientation, its massive structure pointing skyward. Rings of energy began to rotate around it, each larger than the last. The Atlas was not just a weapon, it was a statement. It was humanity saying to the galaxy, "We are here. We are ready." In orbit, the remaining Xylar ships regrouped, wounded and afraid. "Commander," Talon said quietly, "incoming transmission, from Earth." Varric froze. "Put it through." The bridge lights dimmed as the human signal appeared. A holographic projection flickered into existence. An image of General Hale standing in front of the glowing Atlas core. His face was calm. His voice steady. "This is General Marcus Hale of Earth Command. To the Xylar Dominion, your aggression ends now." Varric's tail lashed behind him. "You dare speak to me as an equal human?" Hale's expression didn't change. "You came here thinking we were weak. You saw our wars, our chaos, our mistakes. You believed that made us small." He stepped closer to the camera. "But you never understood what those wars taught us. Every loss, every struggle, every time we fell, we learned to rise stronger." Behind him, the Atlas pulsed once, flooding the image with blue light. "You think we built this to conquer you?" Hale continued. "No. We built it to make sure no one ever tries to conquer anyone again." The signal cut off. The bridge fell into silence. Then, suddenly, the entire Xylar fleet shook. An immense gravitational wave surged through orbit. It wasn't an attack, it was a warning shot. Every Xylar ship drifted off course, their engines failing to respond. Artificial gravity reversed for a moment. Officers were thrown into the air. Talon screamed, "Space is collapsing around us. It's pulling us. Steady the ship." Varric barked. And then, just as quickly as it started, it stopped. Every ship floated back into formation, unharmed, but frozen in place. Varric looked around wide-eyed. What did they just do?" "Commander," Talon whispered, "the humans have control over the gravitational field of this entire sector. They could destroy us with a thought." "Why haven't they?" "Because they don't need to." Far below, deep within the Atlas core, Dr. Cross stared at the glowing control board. "Energy output at maximum stability. The graviton web has expanded through orbit." General Hale nodded. "Transmit the next signal." On every Xylar frequency, a new message appeared, a calm human voice repeating 3 simple words. "Leave Earth alone." Then the transmission repeated. Again. And again. Throughout the galaxy, listening stations received it too. Every empire, every species that had ever called humans primitive, now saw the same signal. A warning. And a reminder. In the great halls of the Galactic Council, messages poured in from across the stars. The Xylar Dominion had lost an entire fleet. An unknown human structure had generated a gravitational anomaly that warped the local sector. Many leaders laughed in disbelief. Others looked afraid. The council chair, an ancient being of crystalline form, spoke slowly. "Humans have achieved what we thought impossible. Should we treat them as equals now?" An elder Xylar representative, pale and shaken, replied softly, "Treat them with respect. Or not at all." On Earth, inside the Atlas facility, the lights dimmed as the machine entered standby. Dr. Cross sighed in relief. Power levels dropping. The systems cooling. General Hale watched the fading glow of the Atlas. "The galaxy will come asking questions soon," he said. "Let them," Cross replied. "They'll find their answers in history books." He turned toward the massive structure beyond the window. "We didn't build the impossible just to survive," he said quietly. "We built it so no one would ever doubt humanity again." In orbit, the few remaining Xylar ships turned away from Earth, engines roaring. Commander Varric sat silently in his chair. His pride was gone, replaced by awe. Talon looked at him. "Commander, shall I record this as a defeat?" Varric shook his head slowly. "No. Record it as a warning." He looked back at the glowing planet below. "Tell the Dominion, never underestimate a world that refuses to die." As the obsidian Fong disappeared into the darkness of space, Earth shone brighter than ever. And in the quiet that followed, the Atlas remained standing, watching, waiting. Humanity had done the impossible. They had turned weakness into strength, fear into fire, and silence into a weapon. And somewhere deep within its core, as if the machine itself could feel pride, a single line of text appeared on its dormant screen. Atlas Online, awaiting next directive. The stars beyond Earth had changed forever. Word spread faster than light itself. Across the galaxy's core worlds, from the shining towers of the Zelari Republic to the molten foundries of the Karkan Empire, one name filled every broadcast, every council chamber, every trembling whisper. Once dismissed as a backwater planet of reckless primates, it had just done the unthinkable, crippled a Xylar Dominion fleet and bent the laws of gravity with a machine no other species could comprehend. And worse, the humans hadn't used it to conquer. They'd used it to warn. In the cold halls of the Galactic Council, delegates from 100 species gathered in chaos. Holographic screens filled the chamber, replaying the same footage again and again. Human ships untouched, the Dominion fleet ripped apart by invisible forces, and finally the calm human message that echoed through the stars. Leave Earth alone. The words carried no threat, no demand, just certainty. And that terrified them more than any weapon ever could. The council chair, a towering crystalline being known as Seraph 9, struck the floor with its staff, calling for silence. Order. We must understand what we're dealing with before panic consumes us. But panic had already taken root. A slug-like diplomat from the Zelari slithered forward. The humans have achieved gravity manipulation on a stellar scale. That is forbidden under the Treaty of Spatial Ethics. They could crush moons, extinguish suns. A reptilian general from the Drask Empire hissed. They could end the Dominion in a day. I say we strike first before they grow stronger. Strike first, another delegate snapped. You saw what happened to the Xylar. They barely survived a warning shot. The chamber filled with shouting. Seraph 9 dimmed its light to a cold blue. Enough. Earth must be contacted, immediately. Meanwhile, in orbit around the shattered remains of the Xylar fleet, Commander Varek sat in silence aboard the Obsidian Fong. His ship was one of the few survivors. His orders were to retreat and regroup, but he hadn't moved. He simply watched Earth spin below. Commander, said Officer Talon, his voice quiet, the Dominion demands your report. Varek didn't answer right away. He stared at the frozen image on his screen, General Marcus Hale's face, calm and unwavering. They told us humans were primitive, he finally said. That they were divided, irrational, weak. But this, his voice trembled. This is power born from desperation. You cannot defeat a species that learns survival by nearly destroying itself. Talon hesitated. So what do we do, Commander? Varek stood, his eyes fixed on the glowing blue world. We learn. Or we vanish. On Earth, deep beneath Antarctica, Project Atlas had gone into standby mode. The air still smelled of ozone and metal. Dr. Evelyn Cross sat beside the massive glowing core, her eyes weary but proud. General Hale entered the chamber quietly. The Council's watching us now, he said. Every sensor in the galaxy is pointed right at this mountain. She smiled faintly. Let them look. Maybe they'll finally understand. Understand what? That humanity doesn't build weapons out of hatred, she replied. We build them because history taught us we have to. He nodded slowly. We just shook the galaxy, Doctor. They'll fear us. Cross looked at the Atlas core. Good. Maybe fear will finally bring peace. A few light years away, aboard the Council flagship Aurora's voice, a private transmission came through, a direct signal from Earth Command. When Seraph 9 accepted the call, the image of General Hale appeared, his uniform crisp, his tone calm. Council representatives, he began, Earth acknowledges the disturbance caused by our recent defense protocols. We acted to protect our homeworld against an unprovoked invasion. The chamber went silent. We have no interest in conquest, Hale continued. But if attacked again, humanity will respond with force proportional to the threat, up to and including stellar-level deterrence. One of the delegates sputtered, Deterrence? You mean annihilation? Hale's gaze hardened. Call it whatever you want. We call it survival. And then he did something no one expected. He offered an open invitation. Earth invites the Galactic Council to send observers. We will not hide our technology. But understand this, Atlas is not a weapon. It is a promise. Before anyone could reply, the signal ended. The galaxy was stunned. Empires that had ignored Earth for centuries now scrambled to learn everything about it. Science academies tried to decode the Atlas power signatures, only to discover it broke every known rule of physics. Spy ships crept toward the solar system, only to vanish without a trace. Rumors spread that the humans had built something even greater, hidden in deep space, a second project codenamed Aegis. Weeks later, in a quiet system far from Earth, a Xylar war council met in secret. The Dominion's supreme leader, high strategist Zorith, slammed his clawed hand against the table. "You ran from primitives," he snarled at Varric, who stood before him. "With respect," Varric said coldly, "we ran from gods." The room went still. Zorith's eyes narrowed. "You exaggerate." "Do I?" Varric snapped. "Their machine didn't just destroy our ships, it bent reality. Our weapons failed because physics itself obeyed them, not us. You want to invade Earth again? Then prepare to fight the universe itself." Zorith hesitated, his confidence faltering for the first time. The commander's final words chilled everyone present. "Humanity doesn't seek war," Varric said, "but if you bring it to them, you'll learn what fear truly means." On Earth, General Hale stood at the edge of the Atlas control room, watching as dawn broke over the icy horizon. The first light hit the metal shell of the machine, making it glow like a second sun. Dr. Cross joined him. "They'll come," she said. "Not with weapons but with questions." He nodded. "Let's hope we have the right answers." She smiled. "We always do. We're human." Far above them, satellites aligned into new formations. The Atlas stirred faintly, responding to something unseen. And then, across every human frequency, a coded signal appeared for a few seconds before disappearing again. "Project Aegis, Phase 1 approved." In that moment, somewhere deep in the solar system, a massive shadow moved, larger than any ship ever built. Engines the size of mountains flared to life. And from the darkness, a human voice whispered through static. "Let them fear us if they must. But they'll never forget us." Silence ruled the stars. For the first time in galactic history, no empire dared move their fleets near the Sol system. The message was clear: Earth was awake. But while the galaxy argued, humanity built. Deep beyond Neptune's orbit, where sunlight faded into darkness, a massive construction site drifted quietly between the stars. It was hidden inside a gravitational blind spot, undetectable to alien sensors. To any passing ship, it was just a shadow. To humanity, it was Project Aegis. Admiral Naomi Reyes, commander of the Terran Defense Fleet, stood inside the viewing deck of the secret station Eidolon. The massive structure loomed before her, a machine so large it dwarfed even Earth's biggest warships. Its black hull shimmered faintly, absorbing every trace of light. "Status report," she said. "Power core stable," her chief engineer replied. "AI matrix synced. Hull plating at 99%. We're ready for ignition, Admiral." Reyes stared at the structure in awe. It looked like a fortress forged by gods, sleek, endless, alive. At its heart, a bright pulse glowed, something born from the same energy that powered Project Atlas. Aegis was humanity's answer to the galaxy's fear. Not a weapon of destruction but a shield, a planetary defense array capable of bending gravity, space, and time itself to protect Earth. But if used offensively, it could end wars before they even began. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Galactic Council's fleets gathered near the neutral zone. Thousands of ships, from hundreds of species, stared toward the solar system in quiet terror. The Xylar Dominion wanted vengeance. The Drask Empire demanded war. The Council pleaded for peace. But none of them truly understood what humanity was becoming. On the Council's flagship Aurora's voice, Chair Seraph 9 shimmered with nervous light. "Reports indicate massive energy readings beyond the human outer colonies," it said. "Something vast is under construction." An alien ambassador hissed, "They're preparing another weapon." "No," corrected a quiet voice. It was Commander Varric, now serving as a reluctant advisor to the Council after defecting from the Dominion. "They're preparing a message." The others stared. "A message?" one delegate demanded. "After what they did to your fleet?" Varric's eyes darkened. "Exactly. That's what frightens me." Back in the Sol system, the final preparations began. Inside Aegis' core chamber, Dr. Evelyn Cross stood beside the pulsing reactor. The hum was deeper than sound, like a heartbeat that shook the air. General Marcus Hale entered, his face calm but focused. "You realize what this will do, right? Once it activates, the entire galaxy will see us." "That's the point," Cross said softly. "Atlas warned them. Aegis will remind them. He frowned. And if they misunderstand? She met his eyes. Then they'll see what survival looks like. Minutes later, every Terran ship in the solar defense grid powered up. From the moon to Mars, lights flickered in perfect synchronization. On every planet, civilians stopped and stared at the night sky as strange auroras began to form, rings of blue and white energy that shimmered like shields above the atmosphere. Admiral Reyes watched from the command deck. "Initiate sequence," she ordered. The countdown began. 10, 9, 8. Aegis hummed louder. Its hull rippled like water as gravitational waves folded around it. Space bent inward, reality itself warping under human control. 3, 2, 1. The void exploded into light. A shockwave spread across the solar system, harmless but brilliant, turning every planet's horizon into dawn. The Aegis expanded, unfolding giant petals of light until it encased the entire system in a shimmering barrier. A shield around the sun itself. At that exact moment, every sensor in the galaxy went haywire. Signals overloaded. Navigation systems failed. Even distant outposts in neighboring galaxies detected it, the pulse of human power echoing through subspace. Inside the council chamber, HFY X's crystalline body pulsed rapidly. The humans, they've just enclosed their entire system in a protective field. "Impossible," cried one scientist. "That would require energy equal to—" Varric interrupted, voice low. "Equal to a dying star." And they did it effortlessly. The chamber fell silent. Back on Eidolon Station, the crew watched the readings stabilize. Admiral Reyes exhaled slowly. "It's done. The solar system is now untouchable." Hale stepped forward. "And the signal?" Cross smiled faintly. "Already transmitting." Across every known frequency, a single message echoed into the galaxy, calm, steady, undeniably human. "We built this not to conquer, but to survive. We will not attack, but we will not kneel. This is Project Aegis, our home, our promise." The signal spread across the stars, repeating endlessly in every major language. "To all who would threaten Earth, remember this: we don't fear the impossible. We build it." Hours later, in the far reaches of the Xylar Dominion, High Strategist Zorith watched the transmission in silence. Around him, his war council trembled. "What are your orders, my lord?" one asked. "Shall we prepare for war?" Zorith's eyes flickered as the image of the glowing solar system filled the room, encased in that radiant, impenetrable shield. "No," he said slowly. "You cannot fight the storm. You only survive it." But not everyone wanted peace. In the shadows between galaxies, something else stirred. An ancient machine race known as the Vorkai, who had once slept beneath dying stars. They had watched humanity's rise with silent interest. Now they were awake. To them, the Aegis wasn't a warning. It was an invitation. Back on Earth, as dawn broke over the ocean, Dr. Cross looked up at the glowing horizon. Hale joined her, his breath visible in the cold air. "Do you think they'll listen this time?" She smiled faintly. "Maybe not. But they'll remember us." He nodded. "And if they don't?" Cross's eyes hardened. "Then Aegis will remind them." Far beyond the edge of Pluto, a faint ripple passed through the void. The Aegis detected it instantly, something vast moving between galaxies. On every Terran command screen, a single word appeared in red. "Contact detected." General Hale stared at it for a long moment before whispering, "Then it begins again." And somewhere, deep in the cold darkness of space, an ancient alien voice whispered through the static. "You are not the first to build the impossible, but you may be the last." Across the dark edge of the galaxy, fleets of the Xylar Dominion floated in silence. Their ships, vast triangles of black steel, moved like shadows through space. At the center sat the command vessel Obsidian Fong, watching the small blue world that hung quietly in the void. To the Xylar it was a forgotten planet. A young species. Emotional. Primitive. Their history filled with wars, mistakes, and endless rebuilding. To the Dominion, humans were not warriors, they were survivors who barely understood the stars. Inside the flagship, Commander Varric stood before the massive observation window. His dark scales shimmered under the pale light of distant suns. "So this is the species that dares to send signals into the void?" he asked, his voice deep and cold. "Yes, Commander," replied his communication officer. "They call themselves humans. They have no real fleet, no planetary shields, no space defenses of note." Varric gave a slow nod. "Then they will not be a challenge." He turned away already bored. His report to the Dominion Council would be simple: Earth was not a threat. Their weapons were centuries behind. Their ships couldn't even leave their own system. But not everyone agreed. A young sensor officer named Talon, his scales still bright with youth, looked uneasy. "Commander, I've been reviewing their transmissions. Something feels wrong." Varric frowned. "Wrong? Explain." Talon tapped his console, pulling up data. "There are energy readings beneath their oceans, far below their continents. The signals are faint but structured, repeating. It's almost like someone's hiding something down there." Varric gave a low growl. "Hiding? Humans can't even colonize their own moon properly. You're seeing echoes. Static." Talon hesitated. "Maybe, sir. But the readings are unlike anything in our database. The energy signature, it bends around our sensors." That made Varric pause. He stepped closer to the holographic display. The blue sphere of Earth spun slowly, glowing lines dancing beneath the southern oceans. The readings were faint but steady, too organized to be natural. "Continue monitoring," he ordered. "If it changes, report immediately. Otherwise, stay silent. I won't have the Council think we're scared of a primitive world." The young officer obeyed, but his eyes stayed on the planet. He couldn't shake the feeling that someone, was watching back. Days passed. The Xyler ships stayed hidden in the darkness beyond the moon. They watched, listened, recorded. Human transmissions filled their data banks: music, news, laughter, and chaos. To the aliens, it was almost entertaining. "They fight each other constantly," one officer said. "And yet, they always rebuild." "They waste energy on art, stories, and emotion," another replied. "It's no wonder their progress is slow." But Talon's screen still flickered with the strange oceanic signals. And then, suddenly, the readings changed. "Commander." The signals just spiked. Energy levels tripled for 2 seconds, then vanished. Varric's head snapped toward him. "Show me." The hologram shifted. A deep pulse glowed beneath Earth's southern pole. For a brief moment, the scanners detected impossible readings, energy far beyond human capability. Then everything went dark again. "What was that?" Varric demanded. I don't know, sir. But it wasn't natural." The command deck grew quiet. Even the most confident officers exchanged uneasy looks. Varric straightened his posture. "Send a probe. I want a close reading of that region." Within minutes, a small stealth probe launched from the obsidian Fong, descending silently toward Earth. It passed through the thin veil of the atmosphere, diving deep into the oceanic clouds. For several minutes, everything went smoothly. Then the signal cut off. "Probe connection lost, Commander." Varric's jaw tightened. "Recover it." "We can't." The signal just disappeared. Not destroyed, erased. The bridge fell silent again. It wasn't possible. Humans didn't have the technology to erase Xyler systems. "Try again," Varric ordered. A second probe was launched. It made it halfway to the surface before it too vanished. No explosion. No trace. Just gone. Now even Varric felt a cold spark of unease. He turned to his officers. "Maybe they are not as primitive as we thought." Hours later, as the Xyler fleet watched from orbit, something unexpected happened. A faint signal reached them. It wasn't alien. It wasn't coded. It was human, and it was directed straight at their ships. Talon's console flashed red. "Commander, we're receiving a message." Varric narrowed his eyes. "From Earth." "Yes, sir." "Play it." A crackling voice filled the bridge. "Mel, come. Confident. We know you're watching. Leave now." The crew exchanged nervous glances. The voice paused for a moment, then continued, quiet, almost a whisper. "If you're watching, stay away." Then the transmission ended. For several seconds no one spoke. The only sound was the hum of the ship's engines. Finally Varric broke the silence. "So, they know." Talon swallowed hard. "What should we do, sir?" Varric's eyes stayed fixed on the blue world below. The clouds drifted peacefully, hiding whatever secret waited beneath the surface. "Prepare the fleet," he said coldly. "If they want to hide behind threats, we'll uncover the truth ourselves." But deep inside, even Varric felt something he hadn't in years. A shadow of doubt. Because the primitive humans had just spoken first. And they didn't sound afraid.